back.
We missed you. It's been a little while.
A little longer than usual, yeah.
A little longer than usual. I think it's been about a week and a half now. We had a lot going on with the holidays. Hopefully you guys had a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. I hope you had a happy holiday. I say Merry Christmas because if it offends anybody, I'm sorry. We're just two average guys. We speak our minds. We had a Merry Christmas. Our family's huge, so it's always a good time to get together with family.
That it is.
I moved into a new house, so we're actually in our new sports cave, which...
Where are we? I don't know where we are.
As soon as we have our producer back, which he's not here today, so you'll see me get up at the end of the show to turn it off. But as soon as we get him back to our show, he'll actually show you what's around here as far as our Husker man cave, because obviously we're big Husker fans. And this is my dog, Kincaid. He's kind of a freak of nature. So welcome back. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed your holidays once again. So we're here during bowl season. We've had a lot of games. We've had 22 games so far. We got one going on right now.
Good game, two going on right now.
What's nice is we're 15-7.
That's not bad.
We're doing pretty good from our picks. So we're going to talk about the losses that we've had. We're going to talk about the wins that we've had. We're obviously going to talk about Nebraska. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our losses first. So Louisiana Tech beat Arkansas State. That was one of those games where we said, we don't even know. So we picked Arkansas State. Louisiana Tech won. We also have not watched all the bowl games. We do have day jobs. So if a bowl game was during the day, which a lot of them are, 1, 2 o'clock, and we can't exactly watch them while we're working. So Akron won their very first bowl game over Utah State. I saw Utah State play maybe once or twice this year, and I honestly thought Utah State was a pretty darn decent team. And Akron goes ahead and wins that game, and congratulations to them. You see any of that game?
I didn't see any of that game, no.
So Akron, and they were one of the no, never mind. They had a winning season, correct?
They did.
They did. Okay.
The next game, San Jose State, they were one of the 5-7 teams, which we should have just picked all the 5-7 teams.
We would have been doing pretty good.
But we took what was that?
Georgia
State.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw some of their scores and thought that they looked a little better than San Jose State at 5-7. But obviously San Jose State had a little motivation. We proved everybody wrong.
We learned something for next year. Go with the 5-7 teams. They got some motivation going into the following season. Then we got Washington. They beat Southern Miss. Now I saw Washington play 2 or 3 times this year. West Coast. They played late at night, and I was shocked. They were not good.
They beat USC, but I thought that was that was right around the time of Sark and everything. So I didn't think it was really. And Southern Miss, I know we played them and we're not great, but
they had a great season.
They were 9-3 and went to their conference championship game. Their quarterback was really good. He threw all over us.
Oh yeah.
We only beat them by 8 points or something.
Yeah, I thought they were the for sure victor in that game, but Washington proved everyone wrong. They got out to a huge lead early on too. So
that was probably
But that was a good game. That was fun to watch. I watched a little bit of that game. Southern Miss just didn't show up to play that game, and Washington came out on top. So congrats to them on winning their bowl game. Boise State. So we picked Northern Illinois based on the fact that they had a good season for one. They almost beat Ohio State.
Yeah, they were beating Ohio State for
most of the game.
Yeah, at least most first half into the third quarter.
In the few games I saw on that blue field in Boise on TV, Boise State did not look that good. I mean, they're not. They don't have that Kellen Moore quarterback who's going to be slinging the ball for unholy amounts of yards every single year now. That I think that's kind of past them, but. From what I saw from that game, they had a pretty decent running game and a pretty decent passing game. They put together one hell of a bowl game and ended up coming out on top.
They killed them. It was like 50-7 or something. It was crazy.
And it was unreal. That was probably the biggest blowout that we've seen this year in the bowls so far.
Yeah.
But congrats to them. Boise State came out and ended the season really well. Then we had Georgia Southern. They beat Bowling Green. Now.
I watched Bowling Green in the MAC championship, and I thought that their quarterback was good, their running back was good. I thought they were in Georgia Southern. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But from what I saw from Bowling Green in the MAC championship, and I saw them play one other time in the year. I think it was an 11 o'clock game, so I watched it. And they're a pretty good team.
That was early on. I think they played Maryland or something. It was the day of Katie and Jason's wedding.
Oh yes, that's right.
We were watching it at the reception hall before the wedding.
Yeah. So that was actually a little surprised to me. I didn't think Bowling Green was going to get beat, but they kind of came out flat. They started off flat and they ended flat, and if you do that, you're not going to win games. Our 40-point game, unfortunately, our 40-point game, which maybe we overestimated Toledo or underestimated Toledo and overestimated Temple.
Well, I think what happened was when we were making our picks on the computer, we could only see a few at a time. So we were kind of moving teams up and down, sliding them around.
And they just kept going.
And they were up there, but then they just kind of kept going and going and going. And before you knew it, we were down there. We're like, well, okay, I guess we're taking Temple for 40.
Gonna keep them there. But that's all right. We had some other big wins. So the wins that we have so far. By the way, Temple, the Owls did not show up for that game.
They had a good season, and they were probably a little down that they didn't. They weren't a Navy or a Houston playing in a bigger time bowl game.
Yeah.
Especially Houston playing in the Year 6 bowl.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's kind of a one-off, I guess, for them. That's kind of how the bowls go. We talked about it.
That's how it goes. So, congrats to Toledo winning over Temple to end their season. So let's talk about, we're going to go from the bottom up here, starting with the most points that we got all the way to the fewest. Unfortunately, the fewest amount of points, I'm not happy that that's where it's at. I wish I would pick them higher, but we'll go there in a second.
Yeah.
So BYU and Utah.
It's one of the
first games, I think it was the second or third game of the year. We had 39 points on them on Utah, and we won that game. Man, that was
pretty fun game to watch.
So the first 5 possessions for BYU, 5 turnovers, and 2 of them were pick sixes. One of them was a fumble.
One of them was 2 pick sixes, a pick that was returned to the 1-yard line.
Yep.
And then 2 fumbles that, it was all in their half the field.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all before the 40-yard line for sure.
All of them turned into touchdowns. 35-0, 9 minutes, 10 minutes in the game.
They didn't get past the 50-yard line until the second half.
Yeah.
But Utah, their offense also didn't do anything the rest of the game, including the rest of the first quarter. I think that was all within the first 10, 12 minutes of the first.
It was. It's 35-0.
And then they didn't do anything after that. So Utah's offense, I was kind of shocked, but they also don't have Booker, who was the engine behind the offense running the ball at the very beginning of the season. They lost him, and that kind of took them out the rest of the season. I think that's why they lost some more games, but they held on enough
to win by a touchdown. 35-28. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Because let's not overplay BYU here and say they're that great, but they did come back, and their defense stepped up to not letting Utah move the ball, and their offense scored enough to get close enough for the win, just couldn't seal it.
Yeah, I've been a little pissed if I was on that BYU defense because they played a pretty good game. They just
did everything they could.
Yeah, they kept it.
When you're inside the 40 and then turnover, you're off the field. Turnover, you're back on the field.
Exactly.
It's just it gets a little boring in the first quarter. So that killed them. But congrats to Utah winning that game. We had 30 points on Western Kentucky.
You had 38.
Oh, sorry, 38. Western Kentucky over South Florida. Now, South Florida always shows up their bowl games. They always do, every single year. But Western Kentucky, we saw them play a couple times this year, and we looked at the wins that they had over the season, and they had a pretty quality schedule. And they came out over South Florida and played a pretty darn good game.
Yeah.
But South Florida was up early.
Yeah, that was one of those games where I was kind of keeping up with the scores, and I was like, oh, shoot. But Western Kentucky ended up winning.
Yep. So we got 38 on that one. Our 35-point game was Washington State over Miami.
It was El Paso, Texas, and it was a blizzard.
Man, one thing I will mention for the first 5 or 6 games that were in the southern part of the country, I was like, is every game going to be raining or snowing? Every game, these are supposed to be warm weather, 70, 80 degrees, Florida, Texas. And every game it was snowing or raining.
Yeah.
And not just raining, downpour.
Yeah, and that was what it was like for that game. Washington State won, 20-14? It was a pretty close game. I think Miami maybe had a chance at the end.
Yep.
But
it was a good game. And that's what you're looking for in the bowl season. I've seen a lot of good games so far.
Low scoring.
It's
a lot of the games have been high scoring. But I kind of like those low scoring close games.
Yep. Navy beats Pitt.
Not surprised.
Not surprised at all. Keenan Reynolds had a hell of a game.
He had a couple more rushing touchdowns.
He had a reception that he almost scored.
He had a reception for 47 yards.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The kid just takes off, man. He just runs. He catches the ball and goes.
Yeah, and I know he might have had a little chip on his shoulder with
excuse me.
not being a Heisman finalist. And I don't know if he broke another record in the game. He's just breaking touchdown records, rushing touchdown records all year. So
But
good for him and good for Navy. I liked Navy this year. They had a really good team. I really like their coach.
really good team, really good year. So congrats to them. Pitt had a good season as well.
They did.
Didn't end the way they wanted to, but they still played a pretty decent game early on against Navy. I think they were tied at one point, and then Navy just started pulling away. I watched a little bit of that during work. Don't tell anybody. Then we had Marshall and UConn. That was our 32-point game. We did pick Marshall in that one.
It was close. I think it was a pretty close game. I think it was during the day last week.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to watch. I didn't watch any of it, but I was keeping up with it as much as I could.
Yeah, UConn kept it tight the entire time, and Marshall pulled away at the very end. But for the most part, that was a pretty good game as well. So we got 32 points on that one. Cal and Air Force, 20 points on that one. That game was today. Now that game was tight early on.
It was going back.
It was
and
really
forth.
tight, back and forth. Cal, they took off, and next thing you knew, they were up by 23 points.
Well,
it was 52-29 last I saw. I don't know what the final score was, but
The Goff quarterback for Cal, he broke Aaron Rodgers' bowl passing record at Cal.
Yeah.
He threw for 467 yards and 6 touchdowns.
unholy amount of passing from Cal.
Unfortunately, playing at Air Force, a team that runs the ball and does their little triple option or whatever that they do, you gotta be Navy good to be able to keep up with a Cal team that's throwing 467.
Oh yeah, I mean you gotta have the defense to stop them.
You gotta have something on defense and be able to, score quick to keep up, and they couldn't do that.
They had offense early, but they couldn't wear down that defense, and that's their game. Is they keep running, and wear down the defense. They just weren't doing it, and Cal was wearing down the defense for Air Force.
Yeah.
But congrats to Cal winning their game today. Another game that was yesterday, Minnesota played Central Michigan. Now, Central Michigan had a pretty good season. Minnesota was one of those 5-7 teams
Minnesota was
where
5-7.
we picked them. We got 19 points on it. We picked them because, for one, Nebraska beat Minnesota. But
Yeah.
Minnesota, they're a good team. They're a 5-7 team, but they're not a bad team.
They went for it on 4th down to beat Michigan, to try to beat Michigan.
Yep.
Could have tied it to go to overtime.
Yep.
A couple of other games of theirs I watched, they weren't too bad.
They lost their head coach during the season. That was tough.
Yeah, that sucks because I actually like their coach.
That kind of, Jerry Kill's done. That kind of turns the team around, turns them upside down when they lose their head coach. I don't know if that had a lot to do with the end of their season, but they go out on a high note, beating Central Michigan. We get 19 points for that one.
Go Big Ten.
Go Big Ten. Next one, we got Virginia Tech over Tulsa. Now, we picked Virginia Tech, and we said there's no way they're going to possibly lose. We probably could have put them up even higher, sending out Frank Beamer on a high note. And that's what they did.
Oh, yeah. And they went up by a whole bunch. Tulsa battled back. It was a pretty good game. They ended like 55-52 or something
Yeah.
like that. But, yeah, I saw like a video of Frank Beamer with like a hat on sideways in the locker room dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, good for you, man.
He's
That's
excited.
awesome.
And, he spent, 29 years?
23 or 23 as a head coach there or something. I don't know the numbers.
Something
exactly,
ridiculous. I
but
think it was 29 years at Virginia Tech, though.
That
So
could
he
be
spent his
true.
entire career there. At 19 or 20, I think it was 29. He's kind of old.
That could be true.
But an unholy amount of years at Virginia Tech. Good for him. You got to respect the guy. He loves the kids, and he did a really good job. Next, we got Duke.
Duke beat Indiana.
I put the wrong team down. Duke beat Indiana, not Middle Tennessee. I don't know who the hell Middle Tennessee played.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, so Duke.
Indiana, it was a good game.
was a really
Indiana
good
was
game.
up. We picked Duke, but I was kind of pulling for Indiana for a Big Ten team.
Yeah.
And I did see that their freshman running back is declared for the NFL.
Yep. I see that as well.
Indiana's, but they've had a couple good years with running backs. They had Coleman last year. But anyway, really good game. Kind of a controversial ending. I think that he missed it.
And I did too initially until they showed the second angle. It's like the only way you can call it not good is if it went over the goalpost, which it probably did. And that's what the far back view looked like. It probably went over the
It went
goalpost.
over and like kind of off to, yeah. And
if it
the
catches,
rule is if they can't review it if it's too high, so they couldn't do that. And I feel like the camera angle that they showed underneath the goalpost was kind of at one of these angles. So it was like this, so it looked like it was in. But they didn't show us enough. They just kept showing the replay
The
of
two that we saw.
If you didn't see it, which you probably did, but game went to overtime. Duke kicked a field goal. Indiana lined up to kick a field goal, and they called it no good. The kicker thought it was good. They kind of waited around a little bit. The kicker was kind of chasing the referees off the field. It's kind of funny.
Yeah,
But,
that was a good time for Duke to kind of get, I guess, lucky if you want to call it, but at the same time,
Miami got lucky against them this year, so
Yep. Rules
if
are
that
rules.
was karma, I guess.
yeah. So Duke comes out on top over Indiana. You gotta feel bad for the kicker, but it's one of those plays you can't review. It is what it is if it went over the goalpost.
Yep.
So, excuse me. So we got 14 points on San Diego State. I didn't write down who they played. Maybe they played Mid Tennessee.
I can't
I think
remember
they
'cause I
played
didn't
Mid
watch
Tennessee.
it.
So we had San Diego State. We got 14 points on that one. I didn't watch it either. I know San Diego State. I think. They
Or
ran the ball
was,
a lot. I don't even care.
Yeah, okay.
Western
Western
Michigan,
Michigan won.
We got them with 12 points. Appalachian State and Ohio. Now this was a hell of a game. This went back and forth the entire game.
We took Appalachian State for 9. Probably should have rolled with Ohio with a little Frank Solich action.
but
But I
Ohio
did
was
think
winning.
They probably should have won.
They were winning by I think like 3 touchdowns early on. I mean they were up pretty big, and App State battled back, and they ended up kicking a field goal as time ran out to win the game. And that was pretty cool. And I only saw some highlights of that game. I was actually at the UNO hockey game during that game, but I was trying to keep up with that and the Nebraska volleyball, which was also on. So I was looking at my phone for different scores and watching hockey. I can't do it all, folks, but very happy that App State won because my brother-in-law went there.
Happier that Nebraska volleyball won the national championship, swept Texas. That was awesome. I have to get a shout out.
Down horns. Then we got Arizona got 8 points over New Mexico. That was a pretty close game the entire time as well. And I know they won
Arizona
at the very
kind
end
of
the
jumped
game.
out, and they were kind of ahead. I mean, they were ahead the whole game, but New Mexico
Mhm.
was keeping it close.
Yeah, they kept it close to the very end, and Arizona came out on top and gets one more win at the very end. So, congrats to Arizona. Last one, but before we go to the last game, which everyone knows is Nebraska UCLA. Before we go to that one, we have a couple different coaching jobs available at the
We do.
NCAA level.
And just a few minutes ago, found out that Chip Kelly was fired from the Philadelphia Eagles. So does he come back to college? And if he does, where's he looking?
It's going to look for Pac-12 again. Are there any coaching jobs in Pac-12?
USC.
No, they're not. They hired.
Oh, they hired their coach. That's right.
hired their interim
They hired that interim coach,
So
which I liked, by the way.
yeah, I can't remember if there's a vacancy in the Big 12 or not, but or not Big 12, Pac-12. Either way, college coaches might be looking at Chip Kelly. He destroyed the Eagles this year.
I will
So,
say that a lot of teams have hired coaches. College teams
yeah.
have hired coaches already. So I don't know who's out there. And maybe another NFL team will pick him up, but kind of interesting.
He tried to take the college offense style to the pros,
And
and it didn't work. And then he tried to make some
I don't-
maneuvers with
I don't
Bradford
know.
and
Well, I don't know
Murray.
that it didn't work. It almost kind of did with the personnel that he had, but he changed too much. He came in and tried to change too much around. Got rid of LaShawn McCoy, one of the best running backs.
Well, and let's be real, that's not all coaching. That's part of the GM and going up in the ranks. But
the problem
it's a big part of
is
him too.
they drafted. I'm getting off topic, but they drafted. They needed linemen. They needed some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen, and they went for superstars, and that's great. But you got to have somebody blocking for them.
Yep.
You got to have somebody playing defense. So
Anyways,
Anyway,
Chip Kelly's available. For
Chip
college
Kelly's
football.
available, so we'll see.
See what happens.
Interesting.
All right, Nebraska UCLA, by far the best game Nebraska has played the entire season. The best game, even though we beat Michigan State, that was not our best game. Our best game by far was against UCLA in the Foster Farms Bowl
Is it because we ran the ball
for 326 yards,
62 times?
and not a single runner had 100 yards. We had Cross, Janovich. We had Zigbo, Newby ran,
Tommy.
Armstrong, Riley ran the
Riley,
ball, Jamal Turner,
Alonzo
Alonzo
Moore, I think,
Moore. They like won the game, and I hope that Mike Riley realizes that hey, we can be a running team with Tommy at the helm next year again. You know he's going to be starting QB. They're not going to demote him.
Well, you know that he was wanting to have a big game because everybody's been talking about how Patrick O'Brien's going to come in and take his spot next year. So he had to have a little bit of, he had some motivation going into the game. And he played really well. The fumble he had, face mask on it, whatever. Didn't throw any interceptions. It was weird.
Well, because they didn't bomb the ball downfield, except for maybe once or twice. He threw short passes. He threw 20, 30-yard passes instead of trying to throw 60 yards. He threw short passes, crossing routes, out patterns to the sidelines. They made the game simple for him, which not because he's a terrible player. They made it simple because
that's what you have.
That's what you have to do.
That's what you have, and that's like, he's not gonna. I heard somebody talking about it. It's not that you dislike Tommy. You dislike Tommy throwing the ball 45 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
why they brought him to Nebraska.
Yeah, and I know that there was a different coaching staff, but it was awesome. I was stoked.
It was my birthday.
It was Matt's birthday, and that was awesome.
So it was a good win for my birthday.
They had a long drive to start the game. We had a long drive to start the game. Okay, this could be pretty fun.
It was funny. So UCLA scores on the first drive, and the commentators right away said, "This could be a long day for Nebraska. This is not the way they wanted to go." Now, I was kind of glad because my TV, the volume on my Chromecast kept going all the way down, so I couldn't hear the commentators, which was awesome. But after that, I was glad I couldn't hear them because I didn't want to. Because Nebraska came down and drove the ball as well.
After Nebraska scored 30 straight points, they were like, "Whoa, coming in, Nebraska 5-7 team. We're actually they're looking pretty good and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Shut up! I'm turned. Yeah,
shut up."
But
they showed up. They played well.
They did, and ran the ball, ran all over them. Obviously, UCLA's rush defense is pretty weak, which is why we must have figured that out before the game and said, "Hey, we're just going to pound them." Zigbo was awesome.
Yep.
Hopefully,
Monty Cross was great.
Monty Cross's last game, I think he got dinged up. I think that's why
he didn't play as much.
At Newbie, because we were like, Newbie shouldn't see another carry because Cross and Zigbo were just tearing him up. I thought they had some really good play calls with using Tommy in the run game as quarterback draw to the outside or whatever. Perfect. We did it 2 or 3 times. It was perfect timing.
Yep.
I didn't like that a few minutes left we threw the ball down the rock.
Yeah.
But big story of the game. Nate Gary.
And this was not controversial, everybody. Just so you know, everyone says it was a controversial call on Nate Gary. It wasn't controversial. It was bullshit, is what it was.
Yeah. The perfect form tackle that you could ever see.
To make that clear, perfect form tackle up high. You want to tackle chest or just a little bit below.
Yeah,
but for an up high tackle, perfect tackle.
Squared up, wrap.
It's like you was giving a big old bear hug.
Yeah, I was, and I don't want to talk about it.
But anyways, and I went on a little rant on our Facebook page.
So mad.
Sorry for the
good thing was we got an interception on the next play, and then it hurt us in the Iowa game when Nate Gary got ejected.
Dude, yeah.
And I was hoping, I was like, oh great, that same thing's gonna happen again. But
we won the game.
Defense stepped up in the second half. I know that Nebraska had some long drives, but UCLA only had 1 yard.
We got
the third quarter.
We got a lot of pressure.
They had 8 plays in the third quarter.
What's the name of the quarterback again?
Josh Rosen.
We got a lot of pressure on him. He's a freshman.
He looked good early. He threw the long 60-yard pass for a touchdown.
Now, he's a freshman.
Correct.
One thing with UCLA to look for is Josh Rosen in the future.
If they can build a team around him with some, talented running backs and wide receivers and get some, good offensive line, they could be the real deal because he's pretty good. And we were all talking about how, Nebraska fans, especially watching this game against UCLA, if Josh Rosen has a good game, every single fan is going to be screaming for Patrick O'Brien to start next year because they're going to be like, look what a freshman can do.
Yeah.
And, right off the bat, I'm like, great, that's what's going to happen.
But Nebraska wins. They win big. They ran the ball a lot. Good old-fashioned Nebraska football,
it was awesome.
Which is what everyone's been waiting for even when Bo was there, we didn't do this kind of running very often. So
Somebody said something after the game. Mike Riley did something Bo never did. Beat UCLA because we lost to UCLA twice.
Yep. So congratulations to Nebraska on the Foster Farms Bowl. Once again, we're 15-7 in our bowl picks. We have 299 points.
Baylor, North Carolina is going on right now. It was 28-24, I think, when we started watching. Baylor was up big. North Carolina scored before the end of the half. Came out and scored right away. So I don't know what the score that is, but hopefully that's close. We took North Carolina. Playoff games in a couple days, and New Year's Six bowls. It'll be fun.
We'll be back with you guys again for the after the New Year's Six bowls, and we'll go from there. Welcome back. We'll be posting more on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or any comments, let
Have
us
fun
know.
watching the bowl games, and
Enjoy your New Year.
yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe and have fun.
Alrighty.